Welcome back to part 3 of the Penny's Paper Doll Family mini album by Valeri at JS Hobbies and Crafts. This is a free tutorial, step by step. Let's get started. Temporarily, I have just gone ahead and put Dad's clothes inside that pocket, and I have a Tim Holtz hanger that is keeping the hats from falling off. The little camera that we cut out. Some glue on the back of it. You're going to stick it right down here. Okay, so get out page 5, and in your reserve you should have a piece this looks like this. It is 7 1/4 by 4 1/2. We're going to be making our pocket just like we did on Mom's. Set this aside. Get out your stitchables all the way across this long side. Get your score tape out. Same thing. Score tape along the bottom. Make sure it's tight. Put your pocket on. You guys should be pros at this now, even on both sides. There definitely will be enough pockets for pictures. Fold it over, glue it down. Okay, so in your ephemera cards, I want you to go get the family. These are so cute. In your reserve, you should have this. And you should have this. Time to patchwork. We are going to take this first of all and just leave the same border on the left as the bottom, which is about 1/16 of an inch. This piece we are going to cut, so I want you to put it level with the bottom. Take this long strip, put it just under the card, and match up your plaid very carefully. Now this is just going to butt right up against it, I'm pretty sure. Hold everything nice and snug. See how everything matches up right there? Pencil. Okay, I'm going to cut that off. I'm going to measure to cut what's underneath of there off, and over here is going to get cut. So this is going to get cut off, this is going to get cut off right up against here, and there's a line here so we're not wasting all of that. Ready? So first take your long one, cut this off and that off. On this one, where we made the line, I want you to cut just maybe 1/8 of an inch to the left of it. Okay, so you see my lines? So I got something to glue together. Put this piece in your reserve. One more time, let's measure. Get ready for glue. Okay, one more thing. Before you do anything else, hold it. Make a little line across the top of your card. Right on here. Alright, so now we should have everything ready to go. First thing I'm going to do, I'm going to take my glue, put it just to the left of the line, take my ephemera card, line it up with the bottom, right against the line. Okay, so that's going to be my piece for the bottom. Turn it up, take this piece, right against my line. Okay, right under my line, I put glue. Put my ephemera card right up against the line, flush to the left. Make sure my pattern matches up. Looks like everything matches up nice and neat. Look at that. Set this aside for a minute. In your chipboards, I want you to get this. It looks just like the little sticker that we put on the inside of Dad's pocket. Get yourself a brad. So we need to do some aligning. So here's Dad. His hinges are all to the front. Put Dad on the far left-hand side with the hinge at the bottom. Push it up and push it left. So I'm just going to tap it, push it down. Okay. Turn it over, pinch, turn it over, and glue it down. Turn it back over. Push it back so its hinges nice and straight. Alright, so I'm going to put that little piece with the hinge over there for a moment. Okay, so let's open Dad downward. Place this here for just a moment in its position, right where you're going to be gluing it. Close Dad up for a moment. Now you know why I wanted the plaid on that side. Set this on because this is going to be the hinge. I'm going to cover that seam. I always have a method to my madness, okay? Put it right up against the edge, and it should also hold this down. Take your pencil, make a circle where the hinge is going, where the brad is going to go. Take this back out, make a little hole, put my brad back in my piece, plunk it through my hole, turn it over and open my brad. Tape on it, tape on my brad, it's opened up. So this moves, see that? And it's covering that seam. If you want to put some, take the tape off the back of that, you can. I always do. Just be careful when you set it down. Put this evenly all the way around. Bring this back up. Twist your hinge out. Twist it over. There's Dad. So the little suitcase, I want you to take it and put some glue on the back of it. We're going to tuck it behind Dad's leg because I want it to look like he's standing kind of right behind him. So be very careful. Just kind of lift his leg up. Tuck it right back there so it looks like it's kind of right there behind him. So let's put score tape on the back of this. Same fashion. Frame three straight down the middle. Take the backing off, get your album out, and we'll put it in. Okay, so we're gonna take Mom, fold her over. Told you I have lots of little labels. Sorry, it's my habit. I'm gonna get my white piece of paper. Put that under there, and make sure it's all down nice and neat. Turn. Okay. Get it all nice and down. Turn your tabby over. There you go. So, if I put page 6 back over 7, it makes sense to you now. So on your paper pad, I want you to locate this piece. On one side, it has the flowers for that say a true friend is the best possession, and on the other side, it's this little pinky coral flower print. Take the tab off and throw it away. I want you to go ahead and measure over 8 inches and cut. This is what you should have. Put the smaller piece up here in your reserve. Turn this way. Measure over 5 3/4 and cut. This is what you should have. Set this first one aside. Measure over 5 3/4 and cut again. This is what you should have. Go ahead and put this smaller piece up in your reserve and take one of these and set it aside. And this is going to be the back of page 6. In your stockpile, we're going to set this aside for a moment. You should have a big piece of cardstock that looks like this. It's 11 by 6.5. Measure over 6 inches on the landscape and cut. Set this piece in your stockpile. Now turn it this way. Measure 5 3/4 and cut. This is what you should have. Keep this piece. Put this piece up in your stockpile. Get out your scoreboard. And on the 6-inch length, I want you to score 7/8 and 1 inch. Before we fold, I want you to get out your dotted scallop. On the opposite side of the scores, I want you to put this dead center. It's going to be just a little bit off on each side because this is, I believe, 6 inches straight across. And punch with one punch in the very center. And you should have about almost 3/4 of a punch, or maybe a little teeny bit over half a punch on the left side. Okay. Fold. Scores down at the bottom in the back. In your paper pad, I would like for you to get this piece out. Go ahead and take the, it has the same paper that we're using on this side, and we're going to use it on this side. Take the tab across the top and throw it away. Looking at it this way, measure over 5 1/2 and cut. Take this piece that you just cut, turn it this way, measure 4 inches and cut. Set this piece aside. Bring back your piece that we just cut. Get out your open scallop. Take this piece we just cut. Run across the top. Bring your other piece back over that we just punched. This is going to go on the front. Do not glue this down, just set it aside for a moment. On your sticker sheet, I want you to go find one of these little stickers that says a true friend is a best possession. Pull that off. In your stockpile, you should have a small piece of cardstock like this. Any little cardstock will do. This is about 4 by 2. Take your little sticker, top right corner, leaving about 1/16 of an inch. Take your ruler and measure 5/8 to the left and make a mark. Okay, and do 5/8 from the bottom and make a mark. You're going to cut this piece off first and then cut this small piece. I'll go cut mine, I'll be right back. This is what I cut off. I'm going to go ahead and put this up in my stockpile. Get out my scoreboard, and I want to score 1/8 away from the bottom. So if you line up, here, let me show you. I'm going to use my this little line. I don't know if you can actually see it has a pencil through it. So that is sitting at my 4-inch mark. I'm going to go 1/8 to the right of that bottom of this. Then I'm going to turn and do the same thing. I'm lining up the edge of this little tag with the line that I have, which is at 4 inches, and I'm going 1/8 to the left. See that? This score is 1/8 to the left. This score is 1/8 from the bottom. Get your scissors out and cut the square in the corner out. Just like that. I'm not going to keep that. I'm going to throw it away. Bringing back the piece we just punched across the top. I'm going to go ahead and fold these over. Fold my lines so that they're in the back. This is going to go in the bottom left corner just like this. Okay, so I'm just going to push it down in the corner, pinch it, turn it over, and glue it down. So make sure it's nice and tight in the corner. Okay, so now we have a little mini pocket on the left. Bring back the other piece that we punched, and we are going to put this in the top just like that, measuring it all the way around. Go ahead and glue it down. And you might want to tuck a little tiny bit of glue behind at least these end ones. I want you to locate this piece. Set it on there, 1/16 of an inch from the side. Get your pencil, measure a 1/16 of an inch on this side, and cut this off. This in your reserve. Get out your open scallop, and once again, punch across the top. Set that aside with this for just a moment. Your stockpile, I want you to locate this piece of stock. It is 6.5 by 5. I want you to turn it this way, measure 1 3/4 inches, and cut. Just take the larger piece and just set it in your stockpile for now. Get out your scalloped, open scallop again. One more time, punch all the way across the top. I'm going to do something just a tiny bit different. I want you to set this one aside for just a moment. I want the tiny bit of scallops down here to actually protrude beyond the pocket. So it's just maybe a 1/16 of an inch from the bottom, okay? So take this piece, measure a tiny little pencil line. Like I said, I'm only about a 1/16 of an inch. I'm just going to put a pencil line right there. Okay, set this aside for a second. Get out your score tape. I want the score tape to go right above that line. So I'm running score tape right along the bottom, right above that line. Pull the backing off of it. Take the piece we just punched, punch at the top, lay it evenly right along that line at the bottom, fold it over, and glue it down. Okay, this is what you should have. Glue this down, glue on the back of this, and then we'll cover up the top part. Stay away from your folds at the top. Make sure your borders are the same all the way around. Glue that down. Get your magnet out. Put it right there. I had you set aside this piece right here, and I would like for you to take it and measure it to fit. We're going to take this bottom half right here that has a little true friend thing on it, and I want you to measure it starting in the bottom right corner of the paper. That way we know we'll get that on there. Get your pencil. Come over to this side, measure in, which you're only going to be cutting off about 1/8 of an inch. Now you're going to have to move this over, keeping your 1/16 of an inch at the bottom, and we're going a 1/16 of an inch below the scalloped. So I've got my little mark here, and I've got a little mark right there. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this big piece off the top first, and then cut the little side piece. I'll go cut mine, and I'll be right back. This is what I cut off. I'm going to put this piece to the side. I'm going to throw that piece away. Bring this piece back. This hinge is hinging down, so you need to make sure that this is readable. You don't want to put the typing upside down, okay? So we're going to glue this down, leaving the same distance in the borders all the way around. You might need a little extra around your magnet to make sure it stays down. This is why I like using score tape. Bring out your back that we set aside earlier. Put all of your scores to the front. No scores on the back. This goes at the bottom. Place it so that it's pushed all the way down, and left and right it should be flush. Pinch. Turn it over and glue it down. Turn it back over. Push this piece back so that your spine is flush at the bottom. Go find your magnet friend, put it on the back of the page, and tape it down. Okay, go ahead and set this piece aside. Get out a brand new piece of cardstock. I want you to measure over 5 3/4 inches and cut. This is what you should have. Put the smaller piece in your stockpile. Take this piece, measure over 6 1/2 inches and cut. Take the smaller piece and put it in your stockpile. I want you to get out your dotted scallop. Take it the short way, the 5 3/4 inch way. Once again, center your punch just the way you did on the bottom piece, and punch across the top of it. Okay, let's get out our scoreboard. Punch on the right, and you're going to score at 7/8 and 1 inch. Fold. Got all my folds underneath. In your reserve, you should have this piece. Notice the flowers are going sideways. Please punch across the top. Put this against the left-hand side, leaving a 1/16 of an inch on the left and a bottom up against your folds. Do not go over your fold. We're going to go ahead and measure and cut off this so it measures 16 inches from the edge over here. This is what I cut off. Sorry, we already punched it. Put that in your reserve. Measure one more time to make sure this fits, and set it aside for a moment. In your stockpile, I want you to locate this piece of cardstock. It is 6 1/2 by 3 1/4. I want you to turn it this way, measure over 2 inches and cut. This is what you should have. Put the smaller piece in your stockpile. Get out your punch again and punch across the top. Okay, so once again, just to kind of keep it in reference to the one that we did earlier, since the punch is at the top and we don't have a punch at the bottom like we did before, I'm going to keep about 1/8 of an inch along the bottom here, just for fun. Just for a cute little border. So take your piece and just run a little line. Get your score tape out, and this is what they're going to be right above the score tape. You're going to put your, right above the line you just made. I want you to put your score tape. Put it down nice and snug. Take the backing off your score tape. Go ahead and get your little pocket. Give it a little bend. Make sure that it's right at the base of the line you made for the score tape, leaving that tiny little border. I like that little border. Fold this over and glue it down. I had you set this aside. Use the top half so that we have our little true friend phrase. I want you to set it on there with a 1/16 of an inch border on the left and the top. Go ahead and measure on the right hand side. You're going to be cutting off approximately 1/8 of an inch. And then on the bottom, measure. I'm going to cut this piece off first and then this little piece. I'm going to put this larger piece in my reserve. I'm going to throw the smaller piece away. I'm going to get my glue out and glue this to the front of my pocket. Make sure that your lettering is going the right direction. Bring your larger piece over. Okay, make sure that your hinge is up. Punches at the top. Glue this down. Same borders all the way around. This one might have a little bit bigger border and a larger top, but it's okay. Okay. Turn it over, make sure that all of your hinges are to the back. You should have this piece that we just put in our reserve. So let's start with punching. I want you to turn it so that the flowers are upside down, okay? Because your punch needs to be at the bottom. So turn your flowers upside down and punch all the way across the bottom. Set it on top of this piece, lining your scalloped pieces that you just punched across the top. Make sure that it's just touching the scallops. Come to the back and measure a 1/16 of an inch away from the bottom and go ahead and cut this strip off, and I'll be right back. This is what I cut off. I'm going to go ahead and put that into my reserve, and we'll get this glued down. Make sure you leave the border the same all the way around. Bring your page back out. Put all your folds to the front. No folds on the back. This goes across the top. Make sure it's flush against the top. Push it all the way down. Flush on both sides. Even on both sides. Pinch. Turn it over and glue it down. Turn it back over and push up so that your spines are even across the top. Okay, get out your little Scotland boy. In your stockpile, I want you to find your piece of cardstock that he will fit on. Okay, this piece is about 4.5 by 7, and we're just going to glue him as close to the edges as we can. And I'm just going to cut around him a little closer. I'm going to cut his little name tag out and set it aside. I just want to get as close as I can. Cut around him as close as you can without cutting into him. Okay, so we're just going to set him there. We are going to put him on black, and then I want you to cut out the dog and the clothing without the tabs and the hat, and leave the little Scotland thing aside for right now. Glue him down and cut him out with black on the back. Once you have everything cut out, I want you to black along the edges of the little Scotland boy. Ink along the edges. Piece that was cut off from when we cut him out, I'm going to go ahead and put that in my in my reserve. Make sure that you put the little hole for his hat. Make sure that's cut out. Put his little hat on his head. And we are going to glue his little outfit down. So if you want ink around his little outfit, just to get the edges from being white. So get your glue out, glue his little outfit on him. That's why we cut off the tabs. These are not going to be paper dolls. Okay, and I am going to glue his hat down so that I don't lose it. Just going to open up the back here, place a little bit of glue in. Back page 6. Open it all the way up, take him like this, turn him over. So now his left arm is on our left. I want you to put just a little bit of glue down to the fingertips and down this side, okay? And then the tip of his foot. Do not go over the fold at the bottom, and make sure his hand stays on the page. Hold him down, and I am going to put just a tiny bit of glue on the right side of his head. Piece of cardstock that we had, I'm going to let that glue set on that piece of cardstock that we cut off. I'm going to glue the dog down. Make sure you leave a little bit of black around the edges, and then I want you to take this piece, the little Scotland piece, and I'm going to get as square as I possibly can. Don't worry about the little flower, just toss it in your reserve. I'm going to glue it down in the corner, and I'm also going to leave like 1/8 of an inch around this as well. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and cut, save this in my reserve, my stockpile for later. Go ahead and cut around the dog and the little Scottish, leaving about 1/8 of an inch of black border all the way around, all the way around. See the little black border? So do that all the way around the dog and the little Scotland thing. I'll be right back. Go ahead and open up the bottom of page 6. Take your little dog, and we are going to place him right here on the left-hand side. So you'll need to glue just his feet and legs, maybe a little bit on his belly. Just place him right there. Take your little Scotland piece, and I'm going to turn it over and put glue on 1/2, which would be the land side. And I'm just going to stick it right here, kind of right over his, well, it is over his leg. So it's just, it'll be open on one side. That way when we go to put a piece of cardstock in there, it won't stop it. We're going to close this a little bit differently. Our magnet is actually right here in the bottom, and there's no magnet in this one. So we're going to put this down first and then this piece. So you'll have to go down and then up. So set this aside for a moment. I would like for you to get out your little African guy with his little Africa words. Do the same thing. I want you to put him on a piece of cardstock, exactly the way we just did the little Scotland guy, okay? You're going to back him on cardstock, cut his clothes off, glue them on, cut his hat down, glue it on, and then we'll also put the little Africa piece on a black background. So let's get him glued down and cut out, and be right back. All right, I have him already inked. I've got my little Africa piece cut out with a black background. I'm going to save this little chunk because I have more dolls. I'm going to go along the edges of his outface, his head. Put a little glue behind it to secure it down. Put glue on the back of his clothing. Back page 6. He is going to go right here in the, glue him down. I am only going to glue the left side when he's turned over and his foot, leaving the opportunity to put something behind him. Take his little Africa sign. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to put glue on the left-hand side when it's turned over. Put it right here next to him. Go ahead and turn it over. Get your score tape out. Score tape a square frame around the outside, one long one down the middle, and a short on each side. Okay, so Dad goes over. Page 6 is on the right behind Mom. Turn Mom over. Make sure you have it on straight. Even borders all the way around. And that's page 6. I added a little bit more embellishment to page 6. I got out my 2 1/8 inch Venice white lace and stretched a piece across the top up here and glued it down. And then I got out my 3/4 inch fancy flat back pearls, excuse me, and added one to the centers of each of those little black punches. So, time for page 8. All right, we're getting ready to do the page 8. We're going to start by putting a pocket on the back of the page we set aside for page 8. In your reserve, you should have this piece. It's 8.5 by about 5 1/4. I want you to get out your dotted scallop. On the long side, I'd like for you to punch. I am going to start in the middle. Once it's done, I want you to get your score tape. We all know how to put a pocket on. I shouldn't have to give you all of the directions now, right? Put your score tape on tight, backing off. Take your pocket, okay, turn it over and glue it down. In your reserve, you should have this. It has this on the back and this on the front. We're going to get out our open scallop, and I just want you to punch along the top. I think that it actually has a direction. It looks like the flowers grow up this way. So first let's measure this to fit this way. So I'm going to move it 1/16 of an inch from the left, and I'm not worried about the top or the bottom right now because we have another piece we're going to put on. I just want to measure it so that it fits lengthwise. So I'm just going to cut this small piece off. I have my little pencil mark. I'll be right back. This is what I cut off. I'm just going to throw that in my short reserve pile, as I call it. Now I'm going to get out my open scallop punch and punch across the top. So that's going to go at the top, just below the punch that we have at the top. We won't glue it down just yet. And then we're going to get one of these out, and I want this top part right here that has the dear friend. We are going to cut just below the blue line, okay? So go ahead and cut just below this blue line right across, and we'll be right back. This is what I cut. Go ahead and put this piece back in your reserve. I'm going to set this back down here and measure this to fit 1/16 of an inch from the bottom, or whatever your borders are to match. Okay, I'm going to take my pencil, measuring it to match the edge of this. I'll go ahead and slice that off. I'm going to take the longer piece and put it in my reserve. So I'm just going to measure it, put a pencil line where I'm going to glue it to. So I've made a little pencil line. I don't think you can see it, but that pencil line, we're going to put glue just below it. Go ahead and glue this piece down right at your pencil mark, even on both sides. We'll go ahead and set it with this piece, and I'm going to set it aside. So get out a fresh piece of cardstock. I want you to measure over 5 inches and cut. Go ahead and put the large piece aside. Take this piece, turn it this way, measure 8 inches and cut. This is what you should have. Take the small piece and put it up in your stockpile. Take this piece and let's get out our scoreboard. We're going to be measuring at 4 inches and 4 1/8. Fold. Okay, so the folds are at the bottom, all the folds at the bottom, and on the right. In your reserve, you should have a piece that looks like this. We're just going to measure this to fit on the front, leaving 1/16 of an inch at the right and at the bottom. Make your marks 1/16 of an inch in this way, 1/16 of an inch in this way. So I am going to cut off, I'm going to cut the top piece off this and then this piece. Okay, this is what I cut off. I'm going to go ahead and set these in my reserve. Double check that I make sure this fits. Set it aside for a moment. I had you set this piece aside. Before we do that, I want you to go ahead and cut right along the cream line. I might be missing just a tiny bit right here, so just cut right along. There's a red line. You're not going to have to cut through that little flower, but that's okay. So just cut right along that. This is what you have. Everything that I cut off was just minuscule, so I just threw it away. Take the piece I just had you set aside, measure over 4 inches and cut. The smaller piece, set it aside for now. We're going to go ahead and take our little card. So measure the border distance all the way around, then make a mark the same border distance to the right of the card, and get out your scoreboard. But line your little pencil mark up with any score line as long as it's right up against it. Score down that line, measure over 1/8, and score. So I should have had you cut part of this off. So from the fold, the outer fold, just measure over 3/4 of an inch and cut this piece off. So this is just our fold under, so we're just going to cut this small piece off. Go ahead and put this up in your stockpile. Sorry, I forgot to have you cut that off. So make sure your folds are all under and on the right. Double check that your card fits on here properly, and it does. We're going to glue it down. In your reserve, on the back of your little trims, we have this cute True Friend paper. And first of all, let's go ahead and just get rid of the tab. We didn't get rid of it last time. Measure this to fit on the back of here, so it should be the perfect height. So all you should have to do is measure over and cut off this. Go ahead and set this in your reserve. In your stockpile, look for a small piece of cardstock that looks like this. It's about 5 3/4 by 2. Set this aside for a moment. Get out your scallop loop. Punch across the top. Bring out the piece we just cut. Put a piece of score tape along the bottom. And add your pocket. In your reserve, you should have the piece that we just cut, and also locate this little slender piece right here that we cut off of something earlier. First thing I want you to do is take this little peach piece, measure it 1/16 of an inch away from the left and the top, measuring 1/16 of an inch from the right, your little mark, and cut that piece. Go ahead and set this in your reserve. Double check, leave that there. Take this piece, set it on top of this one, measure 1/16 inch from the left, 16 inch from the bottom. Go ahead and make your pencil mark. Cut this off. Put the smaller piece in your reserve. I'm going to go ahead and glue the top piece down first. 16 inch from the top, left and bottom, or right, I'm sorry, top, left, and right. Take this piece, glue it right on top, leaving 1/16 inch from the bottom, left, right. Bring back the piece that we put the Friends quote on one side. Make sure that your hinge is up and on the left. Going to glue this down, leaving I believe this one has an 1/8 of an inch border because it was a little bit short. Do not go over your hinge folds on the left-hand side. Please set this aside for just a moment. Bring out the piece that we cut that goes on the front half of this. And I think I had you set this aside, but this is a piece of cardstock that is 4 by 6. Get out your dotted scallop. Make sure it's centered. This should go almost perfectly from end to end. Score tape your pocket down. Make sure it's even. Fold and glue. Go ahead and get this piece out of your reserve. We just used it a minute ago. Turn it over this time. Set it on here like this with a 1/16 of an inch from the left, 1/16 of an inch from the bottom. We're going to measure over this way 1/16 of an inch from this edge, so you can see that. Go ahead and cut this piece off. Put the larger piece in your reserve. Get out your open scallop punch. Punch across the top, and we'll cut the bottom off once we know how much we need to cut off. Go ahead and lay it on here. Measure it so that your scallops are touching just the bottom of your other punch. turn it sideways. We're going to make the border the same at the bottom and slice this piece off. This is what I cut off. I'm going to go ahead and put it in my reserve. Get this glued down, leaving the same borders all the way around. Bring out your friend's piece that we made. Pull all your folds forward, no folds on the back. Place this on the bottom, flush, up against the right, pinch, turn it over and glue it down. Push the spine back, make sure it's nice and flat. Okay, so let's go ahead and glue this down. This is the piece that we made earlier. Hinge on the right, fold it under. Make sure you have even borders all the way around. On your sticker sheet, I want you to go ahead and get out this "A True Friend is the Best Possession." In your little stockpile, I have a little piece of stockpile like this. We've been using all this little leftovers. I'm sure you have something that's big enough. Take your little sticker, put it on there, cut around it, leaving 1/8 of an inch. Take the smaller piece and put it in the garbage. Take the bigger piece and put it back in my stockpile for later. Get your glue out. I want you to put glue, this is the bottom. See, flipped it over. I'm just going to put a little bit of glue right there. Stick it just here to the bottom, centered. Set this aside for a moment with the back of your page. Go ahead and get this page out of your book. It has Miss Penny on one side. We haven't seen Penny in a while. Take off the top band and throw it away. Measure over 3 3/4 and cut. Put the larger piece in your reserve pile. Bring this piece over. This is the back. We're just going to measure this to fit on. Measure at the top. Cut this part off. Take the smaller piece and put it in your reserve. I'm going to go ahead and glue this down, push it towards the left. I have a little bit bigger border than I anticipated, but it's okay. I'm going to glue it from a 1/16 of an inch from my left fold, leaving the same border at the top and the bottom. On your sticker sheet, you should have a piece of a sticker that looks just like this. Same color as our paper. I'm going to measure it to fit 7 3/4 inches. So I'm going to cut off 7 3/4 inches of my little border. Now when you do this, make sure that you're measuring from where it actually peels up. You don't want it to be short. I'm going to peel that piece off. Use my scissors and clip it. Better to be safe than sorry. Bring this back. And I'm just going to lay this little border right along the right hand side. And see, I had a tiny bit that was too long, but like I said, better safe than sorry. So this is what you should have. Go ahead and bring this back. We are going to glue this down now. I rearranged my magnets, so they're going to be a little bit different than I thought. Please put glue on the back of this piece that we made for the front of this. Put it down evenly all the way around with the same borders. Take this piece. Bring all of your folds to the front. Place it on here evenly, top and bottom, pushed up against the right. Pinch, turn it over, don't let it move, and glue down. Okay, so go ahead and make sure that your spine is back flush on the right-hand side. And I want you to open this up. Get one of your magnets out. And we are going to put a magnet right there. And to put our magnet down, I want you to get out your Forever Friends circle. Place your magnet right there. Put your circle right over the top of it. Press it down. Now again, you may need to put some glue. If you don't put these right in the center, I found that they will pop up, so I will make sure that I put some glue around it. But if that pops up for any reason, okay, if it pops up for any reason, all you got to do is put a little glue under the edges, okay? I'm just going to leave it there and see how it works. Set this aside for just a moment and get out your little Swedish girl and your little China girl. This one is China, and this one's our little Swedish girl, or Netherlands, I'm sorry. I want you to cut these both out, back the girls in black, cut out the clothes and the hats exactly the way we did the last Swedish boy and the little Africa girl. I am having to get out a new piece of cardstock to put the girls on. So measure over 3.5 inches and cut. Put the larger piece in your stockpile. Sorry about the noise next door. Put these on here. And we'll be cutting out, gluing these down and cutting around all of them. Be back. Make sure you cut out all their clothes and hats as well for the girl from China and the girl from the Netherlands. All right, I got everything cut out. Glue on the clothes, just like we did before. Take your little hats. Make sure they get on. So cute. Make sure they're glued on. You don't want them to fall off. Okay, my little Netherlands girl. Get her hat. I have my 2 Netherlands and China name tags glued on with borders, and I cut out her little basket to go with her too. I'm going to place her right here, and then right next to it I'm going to put her little name tag like that. So I'm going to make a little pencil mark. She's a little bit further away from the edge than I usually do. So just made a little pencil mark where her shoulder was. Remember that glue only goes on one side so that we can place things behind her. So I'm going to put glue down her shoulder, just on her tips of her toes. I'm going to place this back where I made my mark. Hold down those areas. So now we can slip cards underneath it here. I'm going to get her little China thing. Put a little glue on one half of the side. And place that there. On the right hand side, inside this back flap, we're going to place her on the right hand side. So once again I'm going to turn her over, and I'm only going to put glue from shoulder down to the dress and at the tips of her feet. Place her as close to the edge as I can. Hold her down for a second till the glue at least starts to adhere. And her little basket with her kitty, I'm only going to put glue at the bottom of it, just right along the base. I'm going to place it just under the edge of her and glue it right there. Her little name tag, I'm going to put just a tiny bit of glue on the far right side underneath. And I'm going to set it just at the edge of her skirt. Okay, so we can still put something underneath it there as well. Let's go ahead and set this aside. You get out a brand new piece of black cardstock and measure over 5¼ inches and cut. Put the larger piece in your stockpile. Turn this way, measure 8 inches and cut. Go ahead and put this in your stockpile. First, let's take your ruler. I want you to measure over to 4¼ and make a pencil mark. Measure over 3/16 and make a pencil mark. Turn your scoreboard over. Score at 4¼ Move your 16th to the most even score mark and score down that. Go ahead and fold this. Bring out your piece we just had. Open up the one we put the magnet in. Take this piece with the fold on the left and in the back. I want you to just leave the spine flat. Push it up against the left-hand side. And we're going to put our magnet on now so that we don't forget. So find your magnet friend. Put a small piece of score tape on the back of it. Teeny piece. Take the backing off. Now this is important. Be sure that this piece is where it's going to be when it is actually on. So make sure your top and bottom are flush. Make sure your spine is flat. Press it with your finger. Push the little friends thing over. Press it down. And that's where your magnet goes. So this will close like this. Okay? Put another piece of score tape over your magnet to keep it down. Take your fold off and put this away for a moment. In your reserve, you should have a piece that looks like this. On the other side, it looks like that. And I want you to go back and get the piece that we just stuck in the reserve. We're going to add black to the back of this and put a pocket over it, so we're not going to see it. All right, so first of all, we need to measure. And I think the best way to do this is to go ahead and measure so that we have just a little overlap. So put this on the right hand side. This should fit on here almost perfectly. In fact, it is perfect. So we're going to add black to this side. So we just need to measure enough to where we have a little bit of an overlap that we can attach this to. This will make it easier for you. So on the back half, I'm going to cut my border to match all the other borders that I have. On this side, I'm going to cut right up against here, okay? So what's going to happen here is that we're going to cut this back off. We're going to cut this whole piece off from here over and then cut the little sliver off the top. I'll be right back. This is the piece that goes with this. This is going to go up in your stockpile. And this I'm just going to put there as well. So I want you to remeasure and make a line where you're going to glue this on. So press this piece. We're not gluing down, we're just showing. Okay, so press this piece. I know it's hard for you to see because I'm black on black. But I've got about maybe less than 1/8 of an inch all the way around on top, left, and bottom. Taking this piece, placing it with the same borders, turning, making a line. It's not a dark line, it's just a line where I'm going to place this on top. I know you can see that, so. So get out a new piece of cardstock, measure over 3 inches and cut. Put the larger piece in your stockpile, turn it this way, measure 9 inches and cut. Go ahead and put the small piece in your stockpile. I want you to get out your dotted scallop, set this aside for a moment. Punch centered first across the top. Bring out your piece that we just added the black to. Have the black facing towards you at the bottom at this point. This is going to be a pocket on here. So I want you to get your score tape and add your pocket the way we always do. Make sure that when you put your pocket on, that it's on evenly. Fold it over and glue it down. We have our pocket now. On your sticker pad, I want you to get your 3 buttons. I'm going to place them right in the center of each of these. And I am going to put the red in the middle. Just stick them up right in the arch. And if you're anal like me, I'm even going to have the buttonholes facing me the correct direction, since this is the direction that it goes. In your reserve, I'd like for you to locate this piece, and I want you to cut just below the stamps. So we're going to, there's a little kind of a lacy pattern. We want to keep that. So cut right above the lace and right below the stamps. This is what you should have. Put this piece back in your reserve pile. Take this piece, measure it to fit with 1/16 of an inch. Measure twice, cut once. Go ahead and cut the edge off. This is what you should have. I'm going to go ahead and put this in what I call my short reserve. Glue this down. Twist it this way so the red is towards the inside and the blue is towards the outside. Measure it with the same amount of border. Okay. Let's get this fold piece out that has a magnet on it. Make sure your folds are down all the way. This should fit right on top of here since this is what it was made for. I'm going to go get the score tape off the back of my magnet. Put glue on the back of my cover. Glue it down with the same amount of border all the way around. Okay. In your reserve, you should have this piece. It's got a good old penny on the back. We're just going to measure this piece for the back of here. Okay. So 1/16 of an inch from the bottom, 1/16 of an inch from the fold. Do not go over your fold. Make your pencil mark on the left, 1/16 of an inch in from your edge. Make one at the top, 1/16 of an inch from the top. Cut the long piece off first and then the top piece. Take the long and the shorter piece and go ahead and put them up in your reserve. Set it aside for a moment. This is our last friend. It sounds terrible, doesn't it? We're going to do everything the same we've been doing all along. Make sure that you do try to cut this out and keep it as square as possible, because this is that little piece that you want to have. This is going to be really close to his feet. But I'm cutting this out now because it's got to be backed on black with a little black border. So I want to get it out of here. Okay. Remember the clothes. So I got a little Spain. The clothes and the hat are going to get cut all the way off. So all we have to do is mount him. It's not going to fit on that piece. Yeah, this is one of your pieces that you have in your stockpile, 8.5 by 7.5. He'll fit on here. Keep him as close to the edge as you can. Try not to waste any paper. Measure over 2¼ inches and cut. Put this larger piece back in your stockpile. So glue him down towards the bottom. Glue him as close to the bottom as you can. And you'll probably have enough space to use a piece of this, maybe, but we'll cut him out first. So cut him out and then cut these out and then mount your little Spain on a piece of black cardstock with an 1/8 of an inch border around it. I'll be come right back. Okay, I inked around everything. I think I forgot to tell you to ink around the last two, so I hope you remember to do that. So you'll need to glue all the way down his whole outfit to get it on there. Had a little bit of leftover, obviously, from the top of his head. Okay, got his little Spain taken care of. Now I went and found my Friends Around the World, and this is how I cut it out. I kind of liked the little flower in the green. It fits perfectly right there. So again, I'm going to leave a small black border. Okay, I'm now going to throw all those little pieces away. We're going to turn him around. You're going to put glue down his right arm, down his leg, be his right arm technically, down his leg, and a little bit on the bottom of this other foot. Now I'm going to place him close to the edge. Take his little Spain piece. Now this is not glued down, so I'll just take this away so it doesn't confuse you. Take his little Spain piece, turn it over, put glue. What do you got on both sides? Put this right down here at his foot. Take your little Friends piece, turn it over, put glue just along the bottom. Fit it right in next to his foot. Turn this piece over, put glue on the back of it. Bring over your piece that has your buttons on the front. Glue this down. Do not touch your folds on the right hand side. Make sure you have an even border all the way around. Bring out the other part to page. Fold all your folds to the front. Turn it over. You might want to open this so that your magnet doesn't cause you any problems, because it will try to grab. Even this top pinch. Turn it over and glue it down. Turn it back over. Push it back so the spine is flush. And let your magnet find its friend. Go ahead and put your score tape on the back of this, same way we always have, only this time I want you to put a frame with 3 long strips. Make sure it's down tight. Take the backing off and get your album out. Alright, we are ready to start page 9. I would like for you to find this page inside your paper pad. On one side it looks like this, on the other side it has the little paper doll cutouts. Kick your tab off the top and throw it away, please. I want you to measure over 5 3/4 inches and cut. Put the larger piece in your reserve. Take this piece, turn it this way, measure 8 inches and cut. This is what you should have. Put the smaller piece in your reserve pile. This is the back of page 8. We're going to take a brand new piece of cardstock. You're going to measure over 7.5 inches and cut. You're going to put this piece in your cardstock. You're going to score at 3/4, 7/8, 6 5/8, 6 1/4. Turn it. You're going to score it at 3/8 and 1/2. You're going to take your scissors. You're going to cut out this entire square in the corner. So do the inside score and the very top score and cut that corner out. And do the same thing with this side, like that. See those? You can throw these away. Fold. I want you to go ahead and find this in your reserve. It looks like this on one side. It looks like this on the other side. Set it right at the top of your piece that we just folded under. You're going to leave it flush on the left. Come over here and measure to the right and just slice this little piece off so it matches the width. This is what I cut off. I'm going to go ahead and put that in my reserve. Double check that this fits. Yes, it does. I want you to turn, just set this up here for just a second. Turn this way so the flowers are growing that direction. Measure over 1.5 inches and cut. This is what you should have. And put this in your reserve pile. Bring this back. I'm going to glue this right to the top of this. In your stockpile, you should have a piece of cardstock that looks like this. It is 7.5 by 6.25. I want you to measure over 6 3/4 and cut on the landscape. Put this in your stockpile. In your ephemera cards, I want you to go locate these two. All right, we're going to start with this one. So and put the little Netherlands girl onto the side. We are going to measure this to fit on here this way. So take it this direction for now. Give it your little 1/16 of an inch border that you want at the bottom. Don't worry about the sides right now. Take your pencil, mark your little border at the top, make a little mark. Okay, and then we're going to slice that off. Put this piece in your stockpile, turn this piece this way, and get out your scoreboard. We're going to score at 5 3/4 and 6. You can fold this back now. I've got all my scores to the back, and it is on the left-hand side. These little cards are just shy of the width of our pages, so I want to evenly cut off the same amount on both sides. So basically, what you're going to do is just put it on there so that you have just, the same amount hanging over on both sides, and then measure in to cut off, leaving your border the same all the way around. So it looks like I'm cutting off about 1/8 of an inch. Okay, I'm going to go cut my little pieces off of both sides. And while you're doing that, she's going to go on the back, so you might as well do her exactly at the same time. So we'll just go ahead and place her on here and cut her at the same time. You're going to so make her little marks. And this one's actually got a border, so try really hard to keep your borders even on both sides. I'll be right back. All right, so this is what I cut off of this one. I'm going to throw these away. And this is what I cut off of this one. I'm going to throw these away and set her aside. All my folds are in. I'm going to take this and glue it down. Go ahead and turn this piece over. Get out a magnet. Put it down right there. And get your little Netherlands girl out and set your magnet friend aside. We're going to place her on the back. I did go ahead and take off the score tape backing, so be very careful when you place this down that you have it evenly around before you press on and don't go over your fold on the right. In your Tags and Pockets collection, I want you to locate this piece. It says Friends Forever, and I want you to fold up the back first, take the little tabbies, and we're going to glue them down. You might need a couple of these for a second to keep it down, so get a couple of clips out. I just found that it glues faster if I do it this way. Fold it over. Clip, fold it over, put a clip. Let that dry. While that's drying, I want you to get the back of page 9 and get out your dotted scallops. We are going to put this dead center, and I mean dead center, so make sure that you have the same distance on both sides. And I just want you to punch across the top of this. You can set that punched piece aside and bring this back now that it's dry. And glue that down. Bring your back out, put all of your folds to the front, no folds on the back. Place this on the far left and be flush with the bottom. Pinch, turn it over, and glue it down. Turn it over, fold back your spine, keep it nice and flush. Get your other magnet. Find its friend, put a little piece of score tape over the top of it to keep it down. Okay, so I want you to go ahead and turn this over this way. With all your flaps flat. Get your ruler out. Measure down 3/4 of an inch on both sides. Turn it over, and this is from the top, because you have your bottom flap down here. Take your scissors and just cut in from that mark you made all the way to the inside fold. Slice down the inside fold on both sides. I'm going to throw those away. Keeping it upside down, this is the top. You can tell because the little thing is on it. I want you to put score tape on each flap. One piece of score tape right next to the outside fold, and one right next to the edge. Okay, do that on all 3 flaps. This is how I want your score tape, so you can see it's clearly on the folds and not on the back, and it's not on any, clearly not on any of the folds. Okay, make sure it's down snug. You're going to pull the score tape off the sides first, and it's turned over, as you can see, because I have the little piece of paper. Make sure that your spine is flat. Make sure this one is off too. I'm sorry, you will have to take them both off. Okay, hold down your flaps. Make sure your spines are flat on both sides. Take your bottom and just push it over onto your sides. So it's going to make your little kind of a pocket. Take off the bottom score tape, get your page, and we're going to lay it right on top. So it's going to be flush with the whole thing. Don't worry about these little cutouts. You're just going to lay it right on top. Now mine's bubbling out a little bit, but you know what? Once it gets in the album, it'll flatten up, okay? You get this little piece out of your chipboard. And I am going to put score tape on the back of this little piece because it's kind of heavy. Okay, get it down nice and snug. Pull the backing off. Bring your page back. I'm going to set this right inside this first little. Okay. Let's go ahead and put score tape on the back of this and put it in our album. This page is not that heavy, so I'm just going to frame around once, put one down the center and a short and a short. I got all my score tape off the back, score tape backing off the back of this page, and I'm going to just place it in here now. And now we've got a place to put large picture mats in the back in here. It's all in, on to page 10. Okay, so let's get ready to start page 10. This is in your paper pad. We've used it before. It looks like this on the back. And please take off the tab across the top and throw it away. Measure over 5 3/4 inches and cut. This is what you should have. Put this in your reserve. Turn this way, measure 8 inches and cut. This is what you should have. Put this in your reserve. And this is the back of page 10. So we're going to make a pocket for this. So once you get out a new piece of cardstock, measure over 3.5 inches and cut. Put the larger piece in your stockpile. Turn this way, measure 9 inches and cut. Put the smaller piece in your stockpile. Get out your stitchable punch. Punch along the long side. Turn your page sideways. Get out a piece of score tape and score tape right along the side. Make sure it's down snug. Take off the backing. The pocket, put it on there evenly. Fold it over and glue it down. This is in your reserve. I want you to take it this direction. Measure over 2 1/4 inches and cut. Take the larger piece and put it in your reserve. Take your pocket. Set this down on top with a 1/16 of an inch border on the left-hand side. Take your pencil on this side. Measure over and make a mark for a border on this side. At that, put the smaller piece up in your reserve. Take this piece lengthwise. Get out your scallop punch and punch across the top. Now, I'm going to keep this for this side, so I'm going to punch across this side. So you can see that I have this little cute little border. I'm going to punch across the top of this side. Evenly across the top, make sure it fits, glue it down. I want you to set this aside for a moment. Get out a new piece of black cardstock. Measure over 6 1/4 inches and cut. This is what you should have. Take this piece and set it here for a moment. Take this piece, measure 6 1/4 inches and cut. This is what you should have. Put the small piece in your stockpile. Set those aside for a moment. Get this piece out of your stockpile. Measure 6 1/4 on the landscape and cut. Put the smaller piece in your stockpile. Turn it this way. Measure 4 3/4 and cut. Get out another new piece of black cardstock. Measure over 5 1/2 and cut. Put 1/2 in your stockpile. Turn this way. Measure 6 1/4 and cut. Put the smaller piece in your stockpile. Get out your scoreboard. On the 8 1/2 length piece, I want you to score right down the center at 4 1/4. Set that aside. On these two pieces, we're going to score at 4 1/4 and 4 1/4. I want you to score at 3/4 of an inch and at 5 inches. Fold this one in half. Fold on the scores. Fold this piece. or the 3/4 inch hinge, and the other one, the 1/2 inch, I want you to fold it the opposite direction. Okay, so that's how that one's folded. Bring back all your pieces, and what I want you to do is take your one that you folded in half, okay, opening like a book. Take one of the pieces that has the 1/2 inch hinge up, get your glue, and glue right on the hinge. You're going to take this piece, okay, I'm going to show you, place it right against, it's right up against here. Here's the hinge, see? Make sure it's even. Fold the hinge over and glue it down. So you've made a zigzag, okay? Get the other piece, setting that there so you can see. This is the one that I glued down. Put glue on the hinge. Back side, this is the one we just added. Once again, make sure it's flush. I'm using my tabletop to make sure that these are nice and flush. This way, and this way, okay? And then I'm going to take my little hinge, fold it over, and glue it down. So now I have it this sort of a zigzag. Now this one, the larger piece, is the hinge that's going to go into the onto the book page. So your shorter hinge, this hinge is down, this hinge is up. This is the one that gets glued. Bring your zigzag back over. I'm on the very back one that I just glued on this direction. Again, since my fold is down here, folding out, make sure everything's even. Glue that one down. Set it down, make sure it's folded nice and tight. So we're now going to decorate all the sides of these in your ephemera cards. I want you to get Dad and Billy, Mom and Emily, and Penny and her little basket, and then get one of the family, and the love of a family is the greatest blessing. So this is the way I want you to have this. Make sure that that 3/4 inch hinge is in the back left. Turn it this way. It should open like a book, okay? You're going to take the first ephemera card with Penny, and these are going to have a little larger borders than normal, but I wanted this to fit 3x5s, and since these are 4x6, you can actually get 4x6s and pictures in these as well. We're going to glue Penny down on the very cover. Center her with even borders all the way around, pretty close to 1/8 of an inch borders. Open. In your reserve pile, you should have this piece. I want you to, if I have cute borders, I'm going to put them at the top. So I'm going to, this is going to be a little bit short. We're going to put a sticker, so don't worry. Measure the same border length all the way from the left, top, right. Glue this one down. It's going to have a little bigger border at the bottom. On your sticker sheet, you have a little leftover piece that has add a little color to your world. I want you to measure it to fit. I'm going to measure it from the right, pin it right over the top, leaving the bottom border to match the others. So right there, I'm just going to cut that little piece off and put it back on my sticker pad. I want you to go get one of your other ephemera cards that has the friends on it. And this time we're going to turn it over. We're going to place it right there to the right of the one we just put down. Center it, even borders. Turn the page. Get Mom and Emily. Left-hand side, center it, leaving an even border all the way around. In your reserve, you should have this. It's a long piece. On the other side, it's got Penny's clothes. We're going to measure this, leaving the same border to fit here. Measure about there. If it makes it any easier, measure it to the card with Mom, and then it will fit the same border distance. So I'm going to cut there, here. I'm going to cut the larger piece off first because we can use it again, and then the small piece. This is what I cut off. Set this aside. Put this in your reserve. Don't glue this piece down yet. In your stockpile, sorry for all the stuff in your way. In your stockpile, I want you to locate this piece of cardstock, 8.5 by 3.5. Measure over 5.5 inches and cut. Put the smaller piece in your stockpile. Get out your scallops. Punch across the top. Bring the piece back that we just cut. Put score tape across the bottom to make a pocket. Don't go over the edges Put it down snug and make sure that you pull the backing off. It's your little Love of Family card. Now this card is literally like a fraction of an inch too big on both sides. So it's kind of a funny little red border on it, but it's not even, so I'm just going to shave it off all the way around. I'll be right back. These are what I cut off. So, and I said small, I meant it. I'm going to throw those away. I'm going to get some glue on the back of this. I'm going to glue it more towards the top, and mine will not have a right or left border. In my sticker pad, I have a little leftover piece of red. I'm going to place it right at the bottom, up against it, and cut off that little tiny piece at the end. I'm not going to keep what I cut off. Bring back my booklet, put glue on the back of this, place it to the right side of Mom and Emily, leaving the same borders all the way around. Turn this page over. This is the hinge page. Make sure your hinge is out. In your reserve, you should have this. Looks like that on one side. This is going to be pretty much perfect for the right and left, so all you should have to do is measure the bottom so that it's got the same border. This one might have a little bit bigger border, but you are welcome to slice it off if you want. Okay, I'm just going to make a mark this way and cut it off. They should be exactly the same size. So just set one aside. We'll put it on one of the inside pages. Turn it over and put glue on it. Put it down with even borders. Turn it all the way back over. This time take pennies, so you're taking 2 pages. Open it up. Should have the hinges right here. The other half that we just cut is going to go here, and Dad and Billy are going to go, here. Okay, and we are going to glue this one down first, evenly all the way around. Dad and Billy, evenly all the way around. Turn the page. Another ephemera card with the kids on the back. Glue on the kids. Put it down evenly all the way around. This last piece we have to cut to fit. I'm only going to have to cut one side. This is a piece I had you set aside. So I'm going to make my mark. Slice this little piece off. Be right back. This is what I cut off. I'm going to go ahead and throw that up in my reserve. We're going to make another pocket. In your stockpile, you should have a piece that looks like this. It's 5.5 by 4 3/4. Get out your scallops. The long way, I want you to punch across the top. Bring back your little ephemera card with the family on it. Put it right up against the scallops. And I'm going to bring it to the edge just for now, so I can measure where I'm going to cut off. Leaving yourself a border at the bottom of about 1/16 of an inch. Cut that off. This can go in your stockpile. Bring this back. Add score tape to the bottom and add your pocket. Evenly fold and glue. I'm going to place this on here without any borders on the right and left. Just going to leave them on the top and the bottom. Bring your little booklet back. This should be the last page, and glue it in. Even borders all the way around. Okay. Get your back of page 10 out. Hinges on the back on the left. I want you to center this on the left-hand side of your page. This is really thick. It's even amounts on both sides. Pinch, turn it over, and glue it down, and set that aside. In your stockpile, I want you to go locate several of your little strips that look like this. Our end result is that we're going to want them to be at least 5 inches long and about 1 inch wide. So I know these are different widths and heights, but I'd like you to have at least 4 pieces that are 5 inches long at least and 1 inch wide. These two strips are already 1 inch wide, and they're definitely longer than 5 inches. These two I just marked at the 1 inch, and I'm just going to go cut the edges off on the side. I cut these little pieces off. I'm just going to throw them in the garbage for now. So make sure these are all the same width. Like I said, these are all 1 inch wide, little strips. They're at least 5 inches long. You should have plenty of scraps in your stockpile that you can use to make these. They are not all the same length, so do not worry about that right now. Take 2 of the strips, no matter if they're the same length or not, and glue them together. And then we're going to glue the other 2 together as well. Just make sure one end matches flush, okay? So just glue 2 strips together. Like I said, one's longer than the other. We're going to cut them off. These two, I'm going to glue these 2 together. I just need these bands to be flush at the end, one end. I need these bands to be a little stronger. So take the 2 ends that match, okay, from the ends that are flush, measure 4 inches on both of them and cut. So you should have 1 inch by 4 inch doubled pieces of cardstock. Get out your scoreboard at 2.5 score and 2 3/4 score. On the other one at 2 3/4 score. In your reserve, you should have a couple of pieces of green. One is the mother card that we never used, and the other one is the corner of the mother backing, like this. In your pockets and tags, you should find these 2 pieces. I'd like you to bring those out as well. Fold your score marks. We may not need both of these, but we're going to cover what we need to cover. So take your smaller piece for now. I'm going to cut this little tab off right now. So we are going to cut little strips of green to fit the front of this, the back of this, the front of this before the folds, and the back of this, okay? So let's go ahead and measure all of those, get them cut up, and glue them down. Okay, got all my pieces cut. I'm gonna get these glue and glue them all down. And I have little to no borders on mine purposely, but you can have borders if you want. There's that one. Okay, got them all taken care of. Let's get out a piece of cardstock out of my cardstock pile. This is 5.5 by 2 1/4. Take this piece, and what I want you to do is, first of all, trace it. And then make sure you trace the inside pieces, because we're going to have to cut those out. I am going to cut these out first, just the inside holes, and then I'm going to glue this back down. Let's get our craft knife and our cutting pad and just cut these little pieces out. We can lay it back down and double check that it looks okay. Okay, let's double check. Lay it back on there inside the little, looks good to me. To eliminate the lines, I'm just going to flip it over. I'm going to glue this down and take my other piece. I'm going to back this as well. So take this little one, glue it on the other side. There should be enough room. And I'm just going to push it right down to the bottom. I am not leaving black borders. Okay, I'm just backing them to give them some strength. Cut those out with no black borders. Okay, so I got those backed in black. I'm going to throw this in this bigger piece over here in my stockpile and get rid of these little pieces. All right, so let's get the pieces together and get this taken care of. The one with the wider score lines goes on your left. Center it, okay? And take your pencil and just make a little line. And then I ran that line straight across so I could line up the other piece. We can erase all that in a minute. So take this piece, lay it right up against the line. Take the piece that has the one score, lay it there. This piece is going to be a belt. So hold those down as if they're nice and snug. But this piece is centered on the top. Now we're not gluing it all down yet. On this side, take your pencil and make a little mark right along the edge of this little piece right here. Okay, so we know where that's going to get glued on. Pull it out. See, this just goes right in here like this. And there is a right way for it to go because you can see that there's some stems down here for the flowers. So make sure that's going the right direction. Set this piece aside for just a second. Take this piece and you're going to glue it right on this one right here. Okay, we're going to glue it right down. See, it's even the same width. I'm going to put the glue on here because I have the little mark. Put the glue right there up to the mark. Make sure it's hinge on the right going down. This is going the right direction. Put it right up to your mark that you just made with it. And that's a little extension of your belt. Put this back in to its little slip. So you can slip that through. This little piece should fit in there. If you made them too wide, they had to be an inch. So that'll slip in there like that. Okay. Slip this back on put it to its line, slip this over that. I'm centering color your world. Put this one up there where you want it. Line these up. Line that up. Okay. Press this down, hold on to this, and slide this out. Okay? So that's where you want to put a line, right like that. Now, this is what's going to get glued right there, like that. Okay, so this piece, I'm actually going to put score tape on it because I want it to stay nice and secure, but it will line up evenly. So the hole should look like it's been filled with this, and this is going to line up right inside there, like that. So I'm going to get a little piece of score tape, just the length of this little piece. Put a little piece of score tape right on there. Put it on there nice and secure. Get the backing off. Line this up centered. Be really careful. Put it right against the line. And press it on. So this has to stay open right here, otherwise this won't go through it. See? So put your belt back together inside that little hole. Now you can bend these up just a tiny bit. Not a lot. I bent them up just a tiny bit. So you got your belt back together like that. Center this. Bring this back. I'm going to double check that it fits one more time. Line it up. Okay, so let's take it apart. So this piece, I want you to line it up with your line. Okay, pinch. Do not let go. Turn it over and glue it down. Do not let your glue go over the edge. Turn it back over. Put it all back together again. Now pinch. Get this even. Make sure you're lined up with your line. Pinch this side. Turn it over and glue this one down. You can open it up and get rid of your pencil line. And there we got a belt. And we don't have to worry about using another magnet. This should work just fine. Let's go ahead and put our score tape on the back and get this in our album. I did score tape 3 long ones down the center because this page is a little bit heavier, and we'll get it put in our book. Okay, so make sure you put it in there right, leaving even borders at the top and bottom. Now we're going to do our last page. Billy and the horse is going to go on there. Let's get started. For the beginning of the last page, we need to get Billy cut out. We're not going to do much of anything different than we've done before. These 2 pieces of black cardstock were in my stockpile. They were the last 2 large pieces that I had. So I've rearranged everything on here as best I can to save as much as I can of everything. Go glue everything down. I have set Billy's name aside. This is going to get glued on and make a black border just like we did Mom and Dad, so nothing's changed. Don't cut the tabs off of Billy's clothes, and we'll be right back. Okay, the little tiny piece of tennis ball, I'm just going to glue it right on his hand. Where he has a little ball in his hand right now, I'm just going to take this one and actually just glue it right there. I just think it'd be easier than trying to keep track of a tennis ball. So the horse, there's Billy. Well, it's not really Billy. Billy's right here. And his hats are all cut out. I'm going to put the little green one on him. His little doggy. Make sure you use your black ink around the edges and go score all your tabs. I went ahead and clipped all of his pieces together for right now. And I'm setting the dog and the horse and the little Billy tag aside for a moment. Okay? In your paper pad, I would like for you to look for this piece, and it's green. This side it looks Mom and Emily on the other side cut the tab off and come back. Measure over 6 1/4 and cut. This is what you should have. Put this piece in your reserve. Turn this piece this way. Measure 8 1/4 and cut. This is what you should have. Put this in your reserve. This is the back of page. Technically, it's page 11, but this is the center back inside. So this is the very back of your album that's actually the inside. Let's get out a brand new piece of cardstock. I want you to measure 5.5 inches on the landscape and cut. These are exactly the same, so go ahead and just put one of these in your stock pile. Get out your stitchable punch, turn this to the landscape, and punch across the top of it. Get your page out, put tape on the bottom of it, pocket. Put it on evenly on both sides, fold it over and glue it down. In your reserve, you should have this piece. We just cut it off. I want you to go get your scallop and punch across the top of it, please. This is going to go across the top. If you probably want to cut off maybe just a smidgen on one side. If you like, I like skinny borders, so I'm just going to leave my little 16th, barely 16th of an inch border. You're going to push this right up under the first set. Don't worry about this down here, just glue this down. Off your sticker sheet, I want you to get the rest of this little flower, and we're going to place it right here at the bottom. You should have these in your reserve pile. Go ahead and fussy cut around them. I am not going to keep the two little buds because it's going to be too hard to get around them. Fussy cut around this and we'll put it on black. Alright, so I am going to take this large leaf off that one side, and I'm going to place these flowers right over that little spot there in the corner. And then I'll take this little leaf that I cut off and place it right in the new spot right there. So, I'm going to zoom in so you can see. Sorry, my horse is in the way. So that's where I put those flowers that'll cover that little spot. So we're going to set these aside for a moment. I want you to get out a new piece of cardstock. Measure over 6 inches on the portrait and cut. This is what you should have. Go ahead and put this skinnier piece in your stockpile. And I want you to get out this piece from your reserve. It looks like this on one side, and it matches the back of Billy's page on the back. Just set it aside for just a moment. We're going to take this piece, measure 9.5 inches and cut. Put the smaller piece in your stockpile. Let's get out our scoreboard. Let's get out your ruler. And from the left-hand side, I want you to measure in 1 1/16. Make a pencil mark. Get your scoreboard out. Line up your 1 1/16 score line with any line and score down. And then score at 1 1/4. Fold. Put all your folds to the back. Get out that green piece that we set aside. So have a little bit bigger border, but it's okay. Measure it to fit. Measure the line with the borders to match all the way around. Go ahead and cut this piece off. Put this in your reserve. Let's glue this down, leaving even borders all the way around. All my folds, by the way, are under. Let's get out the horse. And we're going to be putting Billy behind the horse so he can be slid in and out. We are going to put a little bit of glue right along the tail line at the tips of each of his hooves and right at his nose. Push Billy aside for a moment. Don't overdo it. Just enough to keep him down, but we kind of want to make a pocket out of him. Okay, now he will sit or stand tilted, front paws or lower front hooves. I did, however, put a Tim Holtz hanger on Billy. Slide Billy down right behind the horse. Let's get out Billy's little tag that has his name on it. On the little older brother Billy tag, we're going to just put a little bit of glue right at the top and down this side. So turn it over, just put a little glue like that. I'm going to place it right up here with the same amount of color border. This is going to be in your reserve. It's a 5.5 by 8.5, and I want you to get your little green piece out of your reserve as well. Set this piece in the upper left-hand corner up against the left-hand side so that it's even here, top and left. Take your pencil, make a mark, and go cut that off, please. Put the smaller piece in your stockpile. Take this piece and set it on top. Lay the black piece that we just cut on top of the black piece that we just put Billy and the horse on. Turn it over so that the hinge is down at the bottom. Measure the black piece the same amount of distance from both sides and the bottom, leaving the same border. Take the green piece, lay it on top, same amount of distance, leaving a border. Take your pencil, draw a line, set this aside. glue this on. We're just extending the green so that we can make a pocket. Line your green up perfectly on the right and left, right up against the line you just made. Make sure once again that it does fit as a full background on the back of this piece. Set this with your back while we make our pocket. Get out a new piece of cardstock. Measure over 4 1/4 and cut. Put the larger piece in your stockpile. Get out your scalloped scallop. Run a scallop right across the top. Bring out your piece that we're going to put the pocket on and put your score tape along the bottom of the black we added. Put it down securely. Peel the backing off. Apply your pocket and glue it down in the back. Make sure it's on there evenly, flush with the bottom. Fold and glue. I would like for you to get out your ephemera cards and get this one that has the little stamps on it so you can journal. We're going to cut that to fit here. And in your chipboard, I'd like for you to go get this piece, it matches, and one of your brads. So set that aside for just a moment. We're going to cut this to fit right here, cutting off even amounts on both sides of the red, leaving a border at the bottom. So I'm not going to be cutting a whole lot off, maybe not even 1/8 of an inch, a little under 1/8 of an inch off both sides. I'll be right back. Threw away the little strips that I cut off. They were really not much of anything. So make sure that this fits, and we'll glue it down. Even borders all the way around. Take your chipboard, place it at the top with just a small border now. So let's center that. Center that across the top. I'm just going to leave just a smidgen of a border up here. Make a pencil mark where you're going to put your brad. I'm going to make a small hole with my craft knife. Brad in the hole. Turn it over and open my brad. Bring your back out. Make sure that's the one with Billy and the horse. The hinge is at the bottom. When you put this on, put even borders all the way around and do not go over your fold. And let's glue this down. Turn it back over. Make sure all your folds are to the front. Bring the back of the page back. Line it up. Now it's not going to cover the entire front. It's going to be shy about 1/8 of an inch on both sides. So when you place this down, I'm going to take Billy out for just a moment. When you place this down, make it even. Pinch. Turn it over. If it moves, start over. Glue it down. Turn it back over. Push it up so that the spine on the top is flush. Billy back in there. Let's open this up. We'll set Billy's clothes over here for just a moment. I have one of my little hangers that was attached to it. Let's get Billy's little dog out. We're gonna glue his little feet down here, right along this side of his head, from his ear down to his toe. And then I want to put a little bit on this foot, just to keep it from bending, okay? So ear, down to toe, a little bit on that foot. I'm going to place him right next to the flowers. In your tags and pockets, I would like for you to locate this piece. So we're going to fold this together just like we do our other little pockets. Put a little bit of glue on this green piece and a little bit of glue on here. And I'm going to use a clip, like I usually do, to keep it together. Now, I'm going to try to get this to stay together. Like I said, because these little cardboard things are real thick, it'll take a second or two for it to glue together. So let's let that dry. On your sticker pad, I want you to get this little sticker that says "Nobody Like a Brother." So I want you to just take this little sticker and put it right over the flowers, right in between the frames as best as you can. Keep the little red frame at the top. So we're just going to stick it right over the top of those little girly flowers. Okay, now that this is dry, I'm going to take it, turn it over this way to the family side. I want you to put glue on the far right side, one long little stream of glue, and one right along the red trim at the bottom. So we're only putting it in an L shape. Turn it over and place it right on the edge paper that you put over this. I'm going to take Billy's clothes and his hat, and they are going to go inside of this pocket so Billy can also be dressed. I'm going to take a Tim Holtz hanger, put it on his little hat. Billy's wearing his other hat. I'm going to clip it right onto here. Alright, I think we're done here, so go ahead and turn it over. I'm going to kind of lock Billy in between these horses' legs right here. Now, if you want to, you can put a little hanger just to make sure that Billy doesn't fly out of there. I kind of tucked it in here. Let's turn this over and put square tape on the back, frame down around the outside, one long one down the center and a short and a short. Get out your album and we'll put our last page in. So this is it. Got all my square tape down and back peeled off. This piece is going to go right in here on the very last page. So I'll lay it down evenly all the way around. Going to open it up, make sure it's down nice and snug. I know that was a lot of fussy cutting, and I realize that there's a lot going on in this album, but you can't say we don't have places for pictures. So at the end of my albums, you guys all know that I tend to go back and do a little extra embellishing. So first of all, I've gone back to page 10. And I cut out one of the little dolls that came off of Penny's original page that I had you set aside. I blacked it, and then I set it in here so that you could get, let me grab one of my little cards. You can get a card behind it, okay? And I added this little chipboard piece with a brad through it, and it also will allow you to put a little card underneath of it. On the front of page 9, at the top next to my little friend's chipboard, I added a 3 3/8 inch fancy flat back pearl to the center, and then a 1/2 inch on each side. To the page 8, in between my buttons, I added 2 1/2 inch flat back fancy pearls in between them over here. On the inside cover on the right hand side, I took one of the little pockets, I folded it up, and I left the tab on the outside so it actually folds upside down. Since it had a little postage stamp on it, it matched this, and I also grabbed one of the little cards, and I will black it, put black paper on the back of it, but it fits perfectly inside there. And we have these cute little button-like chipboard pieces that I just added to the front of this. Thanks for joining me, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this album, and I look forward to seeing some of yours that you make.